Hey, Kevin. I found the perfect new position for someone as unremarkable as you. What? You're not sidelining me, are you? With the department head's cheerful voice, his bald head gleamed brightly. I sighed deeply inside, realizing that this day had finally come. I've endured the department head's bullying for several years now. The day I can finally part ways with this guy has come. At this point, I don't care if it's a demotion. I just want to start fresh in a new place. That's how bad the department head's torment has been. Thinking I'll finally be free from this department head, I can't help but smile. What's with that smirk? It's creepy. Nothing at all. My name is Kevin. I'm a 30-year-old office worker. After enduring constant harassment from my department head, I've been transferred to a remote location. But honestly, this demotion feels like pure luck for me. With that, I headed to the countryside with a spring in my step. Having worked so hard that I didn't even have time to get a girlfriend, I was pumped to find a life partner in this new place. However, despite my enthusiasm, I was getting frustrated with the reality that things weren't going smoothly with the ladies. It's a bummer. I came to this matchmaking event and no one's approaching me. The company I work for is a major one, so my salary isn't bad. Actually, it's even above average. And at 30, I'm still relatively young. Yet, every time the women at the venue catch a glimpse of me, they make a grim face and leave without saying a word. What am I doing wrong? I muttered, holding my head in my hands as I sat alone on a chair. I left my old department head behind and thought I'd find a life partner in this new place. You sure do talk loudly to yourself. If you keep grinning creepily like that, of course no one's going to approach you. There was a woman addressing me. I turned around in surprise, and there she was, a tall, fair-skinned beauty. She had a stunning figure, reminiscent of a model. Is my smile really that off-putting? She stared intently at my face. It feels like your ulterior motives are too obvious. That makes sense. I was so busy at my previous job that dating was just a distant dream. I must have unintentionally shown that on my face. Oh wow, you were in such a tough workplace. My department head was a really bad-tempered guy. And then, I ended up passionately sharing all my grievances about that department head with the beauty. I told her about how I was the only one forced to work overtime without pay, how he purposely shredded documents I submitted, making me redo them multiple times, and how he subtly forced me to work on holidays. I spilled everything. What? Didn't you report it to HR or something? Well, the department head. He's related to one of the top executives of our group company, so complaining to HR wouldn't have done much, but I was recently transferred, which I thought was a good thing. Wait, were you demoted or something? Yes, that's right. That's why I came here. But thanks to that, I've been able to start fresh and now I enjoy every day. Though my salary did decrease. Wow, you're quite an optimistic person, aren't you? I couldn't tell if she was amazed or impressed. The beauty stared at me as if she was seeing something truly fascinating. And then, a smile spread across her beautiful face. You're interesting. How about we give dating a shot? Really, you're okay with someone like me? Any guy would be thrilled to date such a beauty. But I was worried if I could match up to her, given how stunning she was. You're really fun to talk to. If I'm going to date someone, I'd rather they be fun than just good looking. Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure if it was a compliment, but I felt bashful nonetheless. If it's okay with you, would you like to meet up on our next day off? That sounds great. I'm also starting at a new workplace from tomorrow, so it might be a nice break. I'm looking forward to it, Kevin. She warmly addressed me by my first name. By the way, may I know your name? My name is Amy. Nice to meet you. Her sultry self-introduction almost made my head spin. The day after that eventful day off, I was hit by a surprising event. During the company's morning assembly, there was an announcement from the HR department. Good morning, everyone. Starting today, we have a new employee joining our company. I'm grateful to be here from today. I've been transferred from a group company. My name is Amy. Wait, what? Why is she here? The new female department head, who had been bowing her head, lifted her face and looked over the employees. When her gaze turned to me, she briefly showed a surprised expression. In the next moment, she masked it with a composed smile directed at me. The person who had transferred from the headquarters to become my new department head was Amy, the woman I had met at the matchmaking party and agreed to start a relationship with. Seriously, why are you here of all places? That's my line. During break time, we quickly found ourselves in a deserted corner of the hallway, starting our conversation in hushed tones. Can't believe we're in the same company. Tell me about it. We ended up looking at each other, both of us equally surprised. So, what are we going to do now? What do you mean, what are we going to do? We just have to act like a normal department head and subordinate, right? I guess so. Just when I thought I found a potential life partner, this unexpected challenge stands in front of me. Man, I let out a deep sigh in my heart. Wait, but maybe having my girlfriend as my department head isn't such a bad situation after all. Rethinking it, I found myself smiling at the thought that it might actually be a good twist. Why are you grinning like that? Sorry, I'm just happy to be with you, Amy. Well, I feel the same way, but being with my girlfriend all the time, even at work, might be a blessing. Well, if it's okay with you, would you like to have dinner tonight? Sure. Her face lit up with a smile at my words. Her smile is truly captivating. I can't help but get lost in it. Being able to see this smile every day at work, how lucky am I? Well, break time is almost over. See you in the office. I'm looking forward to dinner. We left the spot after the conversation. The moment I parted ways with that annoying department head, a wonderful encounter awaited me in this new place. And to think that woman and I even work in the same place. Is it really okay for me to be this happy? Just as I was basking in that feeling, something happened. A person who would bring misfortune to me arrived from the headquarters. I'll be working here for a month. With that, the department head smiled cheerfully. Seeing his face, I was drenched in cold sweat. The department head shot me a sleazy grin. Why the hell is he here of all places? Why would he, who harassed me at every turn, come to this branch that's considered a penalty? Is he planning to mess with me again? No, surely he wouldn't have that much free time. What could his purpose be? The more I thought about it, the deeper the mystery became. Just then, the melody signaling break time rang throughout the office. As employees moved to the break room, the department head approached me with a sinister smile on his face. Well, it's been a while, hasn't it, Kevin? The department head casually placed a hand on my shoulder with grinning, and I was frozen in shock. I've been tasked to give a bit of guidance to your department head, so I'll be here for a month. Let's have fun again, shall we? The department head whispered into my ear. The thought of spending another month with this man. I stiffened in terror. Oh, uncle, you seem quite close with Kevin, aren't you? Amy approached us with a remark. Hey, Amy, I heard you've been doing exceptionally well. Word even reached me about your accomplishments. What, sir, he's my father's younger brother. Amy's eyes narrowed sharply. The department head cast a lecherous gaze upon her stunning figure. So, I heard you finally got yourself a man, huh? Your brother seemed quite concerned about him. Think of me as someone sent to keep an eye on things. What the heck? I silently listened to their exchange, not fully grasping the situation. I hate to break it to you, but that man is right in front of you. What? Wait, are you joking? It's no joke. I'm dating Kevin. We've only been out for dinner so far, but I see our relationship leading to marriage in the future. Do you have a problem with that? Facing the department head, Amy wore a cool, confident smile. Hold on a minute. You're the president's daughter, the sole daughter of one of the CEOs in our group of companies. You, with an employee who was demoted like this, that's inconceivable." The department head trembled with rage as he directed his anger at her. "Well, I was demoted and sent here to, you know." Her smile deepened, and with a playful tone, she spoke to the department head. And then, surprisingly, Amy boldly wrapped her arms around mine. "Wait, Amy. This is really not a good look. Oh, come on. We're dating after all." She held onto my arm tightly and showed no intention of letting go. Seeing this, the department head turned deathly pale. Thankfully, no one was around since it was lunch break, but I had no idea when someone might return. I prayed for this situation to end quickly. Are you serious?" "Well, he works for our prestigious company. He has a decent salary and is around my age. I think he's perfectly suitable as a marriage partner." "What?" The department head clenched his fist, his face showing a frustrated desire to say something. "Besides, I'm an adult now. I can choose whom I want to marry," she declared, pulling my arm closer to her, addressing the department head with a clear voice. "Please let my father know not to worry, and tell him to stop meddling in my affairs. Even if you say that your father is concerned, I don't know why you don't understand that. I'm here on his orders to check on things. Then I'll call my father directly and let him know. Please pack your bags and return to the headquarters immediately. And remember, we're working right now. Break time is almost over. We shouldn't be having this discussion." Then, Amy reached into her bag that was placed beside the desk, pulled out her cell phone, and started making a call. "Hello, Dad. Uncle is here at the company. I've already asked you to stop doing things like this, remember?" "What? Marriage? Yes, I'll do it. If he's competent enough to be hired at the company's headquarters, you shouldn't have any complaints, right? So, please ask Uncle to go home." She then placed her cell phone back on the desk and turned to face the department head. "So, as I said, I'm fine. Please go home, and don't come back again, Uncle." She flashed a radiant smile, leaving the department head standing there, mouth agape, at a loss for words. "Well, Amy, all I just be awed by her strength." After that, we spent the remaining break time on the rooftop. My dad, he was concerned that I wasn't getting married even after all this time, so he removed me from the company's executive track and sent me here. He probably thought I'd end up dating someone he recommended if he did that, but I would never agree to that. "So that's why you attended that matchmaking party?" "That's right. But when I met you, Kevin, I genuinely felt like you could be the one, so I wanted to date you. Don't worry too much about my dad, okay?" She ended her words with a radiant smile towards me. I was still in shock to learn she was the daughter of a company president. And to top it off, the headquarters' nasty department head who had been giving me a hard time turned out to be her uncle. It made me realize just how small the world can be. But still, I'm glad that annoying department head is gone. I feel bad saying this about your uncle, but he's not particularly liked among the siblings. Even my dad probably doesn't have a high opinion of him. I wonder why he gets involved only at times like this. If he does anything to my Kevin, he won't get away with it. She looked into my eyes and smiled. Seeing her like this made me realize I needed to be stronger too. We dated smoothly for 3 years and planned to get married next year. As for that unbearable department head, it seemed he targeted the new recruits for his harassment, but he was reported to the Labor Standards Office for interfering with their paid leave. It seems the younger generation these days won't stand for such behaviors. According to Amy, the department head had caused disputes even among his siblings and had since disappeared, with no one knowing his whereabouts. Afterward, I returned to the head office and was promoted to section chief. I've been leading my department and performing well. I feel like I've grown to be a man worthy of Amy. I intend to make my current project a success before we get married, and I'm determined to proudly stand beside her at our wedding ceremony. Think of it as our last memory together, please. I was shocked by my soon-to-be married friend's sudden request. But before I knew it, I had agreed to her proposal. When she checked if I was okay with it, she nodded affirmatively. I'm Richard, a 26-year-old single man, working at an IT company. As usual, I was engrossed in my work, staring at my computer screen, when Catherine from the office walked in. Catherine, it's rare to see you coming directly to the office. Yeah, I came to see my dad, but good to see you, Richard. It's been a while, you look well. As Catherine smiled at me, I felt a sudden flutter and a twinge of pain in my heart. Trying not to let her notice my pain, I quickly looked away and said, I think the boss is in his office, seeing her off. As soon as she was out of sight, my colleague, Bob, sitting next to me, grinned and began to speak. Catherine, as always, looks gorgeous. You grew up with such a beauty, Richard. I'm jealous. Yes, the truth is, the CEO's daughter, Catherine, and I were childhood friends. When I was 11, my parents divorced due to my father's infidelity. Taking this as an opportunity, my mother moved us to the neighboring town, and I had to change schools. My mother showered me with all the love she could, but due to financial constraints, I always wore hand-me-down clothes. Even though I didn't care, my classmates naturally distanced themselves from me. I didn't have the latest comics or games, so I felt out of place in class discussions and had a dreary school life. One day, as I walked down the school hallway alone, Catherine approached me. You know, my dad's company is hosting a computer course for kids. Want to come? While I wore old clothes, Catherine always wore flashy branded dresses. She was an odd one out, but for a different reason. Being the daughter of an IT company's owner, she was a genuine rich kid, but that drew resentment from our classmates. Also, with her stunning looks, beautiful eyes, and long curled eyelashes, she was the envy of many girls. Considering all this, I wondered why she would invite someone like me and asked, why? Then Catherine made a surprising remark. We're both kind of outcasts in class, aren't we? I've always wanted to prove them wrong, and next month we'll start computer classes. If we learn ahead of time, maybe they'll see us differently. Employees from my dad's company will teach for free. Want to join? Indeed, I was interested in computers, and the idea of learning for free was appealing. Also, like Catherine said, I wanted to show our classmates what we could do, so I accepted her invitation. When I went to the IT company for the course, Catherine's father, Mr. Johnson, warmly welcomed me. Richard, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. If you have any questions, just ask. Even though I wore worn-out clothes, Mr. Johnson greeted me with a kind smile. I was nervous at first, but the staff were all friendly, and I soon found myself engrossed in the course. Mr. Johnson even praised me, saying, "You have a knack for a computer." Looking back, I think this was a turning point in my life. 2 weeks after the course, when we had a computer class in school, Catherine and I were the first to finish our tasks. The teacher praised us and told the other students, if you have questions, ask the teacher or these two. Since the teacher was already bombarded with questions, some students naturally came to Catherine and me for help. After helping them out, our classmates started to see us in a new light. Every time there was a computer class, we shined and became somewhat of heroes in the class. Even though we were just recently the outcasts, I never thought this day would come, and I was really thankful to Catherine. If Catherine hadn't invited me to the course, I wouldn't be who I am now. Thanks a lot. I should be the one thanking you. Seeing you working hard made me want to do my best too. From that event, our relationship deepened. Since then, I continued studying computers and, fortunately, right after graduating from high school, I secured a job at the company run by Mr. Johnson. I was the only one with just a high school diploma there, but Mr. Johnson always warmly told me, "I have high hopes for you." Now, I'm actively involved in the children's computer courses held at the company and teach them. Even if they are like me, without much money in their younger days, I hope many kids get the chance to experience using computers. Work is fun and volunteering is fulfilling. Living such satisfying days was truly all thanks to meeting Catherine. As I was reminiscing about these memories, Bob mockingly remarked, "But Catherine is getting married next month, right? Then you won't be able to chat like now." Yes, Catherine is indeed about to get married. Her fiancé is the heir of a listed company, and they have been dating with marriage in mind since their matchmaking half a year ago. Though Catherine's computer skills are outstanding, lately, she's been mainly doing remote work preparing for her life as a housewife and rarely shows up at the office. She's being groomed to be the future CEO's wife, so she probably doesn't need to work. And so, the chances of meeting her have been gradually decreasing. When I joined the card company, I was happy thinking I can always be with Catherine, but her world as the CEO's daughter and mine are just too different. I've had special feelings for her since long ago, but I realized I've been suppressing them. Catherine is getting married soon. I need to get over it. I kept telling myself that, but later, I encountered an unexpected event. On Friday, I wonder how I should spend tomorrow. I was lost in thought when suddenly Catherine gave me a call. It's been half a year since she last contacted me. My heart raced as I answered, and she made an unexpected proposal. "Hey, are you free tomorrow? If you are, can you hang out with me for a day?" "Huh? Hang out with me? She's about to get married. Is it okay for her to hang out with someone like me even if we've been close since childhood?" But Catherine insisted. "I just want to visit places from our student days. When I get married, I won't be able to visit my hometown often. So think of it as making the last memory, please." Since Catherine was so passionate, I eventually agreed. But I never thought I'd be going out with her alone after grown-up. This is like a date. The next day, I got dressed and headed to the park where Catherine told me to meet. Catherine had already arrived, and she looked stunning in a pink dress that I couldn't help but stare. Upon seeing me, her eyes sparkled. "Richard, I'm sorry for asking this of you suddenly, but I really wanted to reminisce." "You don't have to apologize. I was free anyway. By the way, this park, we used to come here a lot." Seeing her dressed up made my heart race, but I brought up the park, and Catherine smiled happily. "Yes, I wanted to visit after a long time. The playground equipment is well maintained, and it hasn't changed at all. It feels like we've time traveled back to our childhood." Yeah, those were the days. We played freely and had a lot of fun. So, we decided to visit our old haunts and reminisce about the past. I and Catherine went to the public library we used to frequent to study computers and remembered the convenience store we used to stop by during our high school days. We then headed for lunch at a burger shop where we had been to for the after-party of their high school fair. In high school, both of us were in the computer club. We had fun every day. The burgers here are still as delicious as ever. Yeah, I was poor, so I rarely got to eat out. But thanks to the earnings from the school fair, I was lucky enough to afford it. Indeed, although I am financially stable now, back in the day I was really short on cash. Perhaps that's why I couldn't confess my feelings to Catherine. I probably unconsciously felt we weren't a good match. Also, the fear of ruining the good relationship we had if the confession went wrong was unbearable. As the day wore on, tinged with nostalgia and sadness, we found ourselves at dusk. I wanted to spend the evening with her, but Catherine signaled it was time to leave. Sure, it would be prudent to leave now, given she's about to be married. "Richard, thank you for indulging me today. It was a fantastic day. It's given me strength for my married life ahead." Hearing this, a pang of sadness hit me. There won't be any more outings like this with her. But I didn't want a tearful farewell. With a big smile, I said, "The pleasure was all mine. Congratulations on your marriage. Wishing you all the happiness in the world." Catherine, with a wistful look, said thank you and walked away. I went home with a heavy heart, but I was later embroiled in an unexpected issue. After enjoying my first and last date with Catherine, I headed to the office on Monday with mixed feelings. Then, Bob approached with a mischievous grin. "Richard, never thought you'd be the type to betray Mr. Johnson. It's bold of you." "What?" I couldn't believe it and braced myself when Bob took out his cell phone and shoved its screen in my face. On it was a video of me and Catherine walking side by side, with Catherine saying, "Let's go grab some burgers." Bob had sneakily filmed us. It was clear that Bob had always been suspicious of my relationship with her. Sweating profusely, I thought about the consequences. Of course, I've already shown this video to the boss. Worst case scenario, you could even get fired. Well, I guess it's karma. Bob walked away with a mocking laugh. As I watched him leave, I felt a sinking feeling and went to my desk. Sure enough, I was soon called by Mr. Johnson for a talk. The other employees looked on with curious expressions, but Bob clearly found amusement in the situation. "Brace yourself," I told myself as I headed for Mr. Johnson's office. Mr. Johnson said, "Take a seat." The boss always had a way of staying calm and collected no matter what, and I deeply admired that about him. I felt guilty for inadvertently betraying such a person. As I waited for Mr. Johnson to speak, the unexpected happened. "I've seen the video Bob showed me. I haven't seen Catherine looking that happy in a long time. Thank you for spending time with my daughter." "Wait, Mr. Johnson." I had assumed he was going to be reprimanded for going out with Catherine, so I was taken aback by the boss's gratitude. Mr. Johnson continued, "I need to tell you something in confidence." He began to share a shocking revelation. 3 months ago, Catherine had a checkup and found out she has some reproductive issues. She's healthy, but it seems she might have trouble conceiving in the future. She was devastated. Hearing this, I was at a loss for words. Then, another revelation hit. Catherine's fiancé, a well-to-do gentleman, had wanted to marry her despite the news. However, his parents were strongly against it. They desperately wanted a grandchild. Catherine, feeling guilty, had broken off the engagement herself. Imagining how Catherine must have felt then, I felt even more upset. Then Mr. Johnson added, "Catherine told me she's considering moving away because she doesn't believe anyone would love her now. But seeing her have a good time with you, her childhood friend, I think she's started to change her mind. Thank you so much. I can't imagine anyone ever loving me again." Hearing Mr. Johnson say Catherine felt that way, I realized I've always loved her, regardless of her circumstances. I've never been able to say this, but I love Catherine. I always thought I didn't stand a chance with her, being your daughter and all, but hearing your story, I can't deny my feelings any longer. Even if Catherine can't have kids, I want to be with her for the rest of my life. May I tell her how I feel? Richard, Catherine is truly lucky to have someone as kind as you. Would you go see her now? I don't have any pressing matters, and I'd like you to share your feelings with her. With Mr. Johnson's blessing, I left work early to go to Catherine's. I rang her doorbell, and she answered with a surprised look. "Richard, what are you doing here? It's still work hours." Seeing her face, I felt a surge of affection. "I had to tell you now, or I'd regret it. I love you." The moment Catherine heard my straightforward confession, she was taken aback for a moment, but then, with a sad look on her face, she responded, "Did you hear about the broken engagement from my dad? It's kind of you to pity me, but I can't have children. I was diagnosed with ovarian failure. I won't ever be able to conceive, so maybe you should find someone else." "No way," I interrupted her, gripping her hand tightly. Catherine, clearly taken aback, lost her words. But I needed her to understand my feelings. "It doesn't matter if you can have kids or not, as long as you're with me, that's all that matters. I've loved you since we were kids. Richard, thank you. I've always admired your positivity and resilience. I've loved you since we were children too." It seemed my feelings had finally gotten through. Tears filled Catherine's eyes as she leaned into me. The first time I felt such deep joy connecting with her. However, realizing that we couldn't just stand hugging at the front door forever, I asked if I could come in. Catherine led me to the living room, and as we sat facing each other on the sofa, She began to open up, wiping away tears. You know, because my dad is a big shot CEO, I've always been prepped to marry someone prominent. I thought I'd end up with someone like that someday. That's why, even though I've liked you since grade school, I had those feelings. Being the CEO's daughter had its own set of challenges, and Catherine had her share of battles. Thinking of all she'd been through, my heart ached for her. My ex-fiancé was a really decent guy. I didn't get the butterflies with him like I did with you, but I tried to convince myself it was the best choice, especially for my folks. But when I found out I couldn't have kids and the engagement ended, I finally figured out what I really wanted. Saying this, Catherine's deep, round eyes met mine. Richard, you're so good with kids and even do volunteer work, but I can't have children. I thought it'd be best for both of us if I stepped back. Are you sure you're okay with that? Holding her hand gently, I looked into her eyes. It's not about okay or not okay. To me, there's only you, Catherine. I don't see any issue. As long as you're smiling by my side, that's all I need. Richard, truly, thank you. From there, our relationship blossomed. We officially began dating and tied the knot 6 months later. Bob, who assumed I'd get the axe, was naturally floored by this twist. Who would have guessed you would marry the CEO's daughter? And you're likely the next CEO. Man, I'm green with envy. I wish I had a stroke of luck like that. To which I responded, if you keep pushing forward and giving it your all, things will turn around for you too, Bob. This was a new side of me to Bob, and he seemed taken aback, but that's what life's journey had taught me. After starting my computer classes and pouring in the effort, I felt my life had taken a positive turn. When I reached home, my son Mason excitedly ran up saying, Dad, show me how to use the computer. Mason, our adopted son, was 10 years old. You got it. Let's dive right in. With that, Mason and I headed over to the computer. In the background, Catherine watched with a warm smile. With the love that Catherine and I share, I'm sure Mason will grow up surrounded by happiness.